Hi guys, Glyphix here. Welcome back to the channel, or if this is your first time watching, hope you guys enjoy the video. This video is going to be aimed at newer players or people who just want to learn how to play Deathgivers, and this is kind of going to be how to get into solo PvP and Albion Online. I'd recommend starting off in Hunter Corrupted Dungeons. I'll put an image on screen of how the Corrupted Dungeon looks. You can kind of find them in any open world area on the map. Wait, give me a sec. You can find them anywhere, and if you want to get the Hunter Corrupted Dungeons, you can still access them in the red zones, but I'd just recommend going to the yellow or blue zones since they're non-lethal, so you aren't really risking death. If you die in the Hunter Corrupted Dungeons, you do not end up losing your gear. It's not a full loot area. And then you can get into Stalker Dungeons, which can be some nice silver if you're a newer player. So this is the build we're going to be using today. PvE spells, I would recommend just basically going with this. If you want a cheap alternative for the Fiend Cowl, you can play Hunterhood. Hunterhood is also pretty decent. And then you can just play a non-faction cape. If you want to know what food you should be using, I recommend beef stew. It's very cheap, so if you're a new player, it won't really break the bank. And there are obviously better alternatives such as dead water, and in some matchups, some other food is more viable. But I think beef stew will get the job done in most of these cases. Let's take a look at what abilities I recommend you start on before you know what your opponent is. I think you should start on Deadly Swipe, Shadow Edge, Purge on your Fiend Cowl, Mercenary Jacket on the heal ability, and then Rejuvenating Sprint for some extra HP. In case you want to know what you should start off on if you're playing a Hunter Hood, you're gonna basically just be on Retaliate. A very interesting mechanic with Deathgivers that I really enjoy is the way the Q works. If you have 3 stacks on any of your Qs, you're going to get an extra E essentially for free. It's still going to cost you mana, however, it won't have any cooldown reductions, so it's an extra E in the fight. The way the stacks work, Deadly Swipe is going to appear over here under your name bar, and you can get that from mobs or even players. If you attack 3 mobs, for instance, you're going to have 3 stacks. If you attack a player and you only hit the player with your Q, let me just show you how the Q looks like. It's like that. Then you're going to have 1 stack. Sunder Armor works a little bit differently. It goes onto the player you're attacking. So it's going to essentially be a debuff on the player, and as soon as you get 3 stacks, then you'll have an extra E. So just keep in mind, as soon as you get 3 stacks, you got your extra E, and you should consider using it. I really like this mechanic because it allows you to sometimes have 3, 4, even 5 E's in a pretty short fight, and it's definitely very fun. So this video, or the rest of it, is going to be mainly me going through some fights that I had, explaining what I was doing, why I was doing it, and trying to pass on some of the knowledge I have on the matchups. So hopefully it helps you get into PvP and Albion, and even if you have been doing PvP for a while and haven't picked up Deathgivers, hopefully it helps you in that department, just give you some extra knowledge, show you what to do, and just help you through it. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video, and yeah. When fighting with spring bows, you want to look for when they pop their E, indicated that in the top left of the screen, and then you want to shadow edge them to close distance. They're going to be auto attacking you, so they will be standing still, and your shadow edge will hit. I should not purge the Hunter Hood like I did there. You should simply just purge the Mercenary Jacket. They have a lot more mobility than you due to the reduced cooldowns from the pork omelet, so you just want to continue chasing them down until you have opportunity to kill them. This running around game continues for a while, so these matchups are definitely very annoying as a Deathgiver player. But you just have to be patient. Sooner or later they're going to make a mistake and you're going to have potential to kill them, or bats are going to spawn, which reduces their movement speed. Right now, I'm trying to bait him to come closer to me because I know if he comes closer, I'll have a very good opportunity to kill him. I commit my boots into him and I shadow edge instantly, which cancels his W, his frost shot, which helps a great deal in killing him eventually. He pops his mercenary jacket there, I purge him, and after that, it's basically just a one fight. Against dual swords with cleric robe, it's a pretty easy fight. You should ideally be on first queue. I just couldn't be bothered swapping abilities because I knew it was going to be a very easy fight. All you have to be careful of is Hunter Hood. You shouldn't hit into his Hunter Hood, you should just wear it out. And when you pop your mercenary jacket, he's usually going to pop his cleric robe and then you just purge, as I do right there. And then after that it's pretty much a one fight. There's not really much you can do. Just run him down and you'll kill him quite quickly. So I'm up against another Whispering Bow, this time with Hunter Jacket and Hellion Hood. I do the same thing when he pops his E. I just close the distance with my Shadow Edge and I try and keep him on screen. Something to be careful of against this build is when they pop their Hunter Jacket, you want to purge instantly. If they complete their combo correctly, then they'll use their Hunter Jacket and then immediately use their Hellion Hood. This player, however, messed up his combo. I'm not too sure why, but as you see there, I purge his Hunter Jacket, and he does not use his Hellion Hood until much later in the fight. He decides to run after this because he clearly lost the trade, and in a little bit I'm going to use my E for a gap close, which you should pay good attention to. He's out of range of my E, but I can still use the E on the frog, which allows me to close the distance. And that essentially lets me kill him here instead of him being able to get out quite easily. I'm playing against a Cursed Skull here. I'm not really too sure what the best abilities are, but I like to play first Q and my last W, Chain Slash. Things to be aware of when playing against a Cursed Skull is that he can use mobs to regen HP. This player does do that, and it almost got me killed. At this point I'm just trying to keep him on screen doing as much damage as possible, and I'm getting ready to try and purge his mercenary jacket. Unfortunately I do a bit of a misplay and I chain slash, which allows him to get a lot more healing off than he should. It might seem as if I won that trade, but he has stacks on me, which means I would end up dying in a long fight. So I kite away to get the stacks dropped and then I turn back in. I'm very careful of his W. If he W's me on traps, I could end up losing the fight. So I just try and avoid the traps as much as possible and not give him an opportunity. I just stick on him now. It's basically a one fight. He uses his cleric cowl, but it doesn't make any difference, and then I just EM to finish him off. In this fight I'm playing against a Chillar with Cultist Robe. I managed to get 2 stacks off of mobs before the fight starts, and so I could just shadow edge him there and get the extra E off. This at the end allows me to win the fight. It was a very close fight. But what you should be looking to purge is his boots, not his Hunter Hood. His boots allows him to just kite away from you, and he wants to keep as much distance between you and him as possible so he can do damage from afar. Ideally I could have saved my Shadow Edge to negate his Cultist Robe healing, because it is an interrupt and that would allow him not to get any healing off. As you can see, it was a very close fight, and if I hadn't pre-stacked off of mobs I would have most likely lost it. Against this build, you should ideally be saving your W to interrupt his E channel, and you should make sure not to get hit by the silence. I kind of just went in and started hitting him. I wasn't really paying too much attention, and that ended up making me have to kite because I would have lost at the end. Over here it might seem like I could kill him, but he pops his Gigantify pot or his boots, I'm not sure which one it was, and I just have to end up kiting away. One thing to keep in mind is when you're running through mobs, it can sometimes be very beneficial. A lot of the times when you run through mobs, when he comes to you, he's going to end up being lower HP than you are, even though you started running through the mobs. At this point I'm kind of looking to see how low he is to see if there's a potential re-engage for me, but I decide it's probably not a good idea, so I continue to kite away. Here's a very good example of what I was just speaking about. Even though I started running into the mobs, if you look at his HP, it's lower than mine. So I realized I can go for a re-engage, and I just go in. At this point there's not much you can do. I have all my abilities up, I have my Merc Jacket. However, I have to make sure to sidestep his W here, which I do. And if I didn't get that off, he most likely would have won the fight. So a quick recap, you should be focusing on making sure that he doesn't hit any of his W's and saving your W to interrupt his E. In this fight I'm playing against a pretty old Deathgiver build. All you really have to be aware of is his stacks. As you're going to see in a little bit, I'm going to end up engaging as soon as his stacks drop, and that'll pretty much guarantee me a winning trade. Let's just look at the execution here. Yeah, as soon as the stacks drop, as you can see, I use my boots to engage, and then I use my E, get my auto attack off with a third foot cape proc, and then I wait for him to get 3 stacks, and then I purge his stacks. Then I shadow edge into the bat, which silences him. A little trick a lot of people don't know is if you shadow edge into one of those silence bats, you can still use your abilities. And now he threw poison pots. I just kind of keep my distance. I know he doesn't really have any abilities up, so he can't do too much damage. I get my 3 stacks off, and at this point it's just a done deal. Shadow edge him, hit a Q, and hit my E, and that's a pretty easy fight. We're playing against a Warbow. Quite a lot of people play Warbow, so it's definitely a good example and a matchup you should keep in your head. You should make sure to purge his boots, as I did there, so that he has a lot less mobility. He is on the wrong W. He should be on Frost Shot, but he's on a Ray of Light. So I just kind of keep him on screen, make sure to stay as close to him as possible. He wasted his Assassin Jacket. Ideally they would use the Assassin Jacket as soon as I use my Merc Hood. My Merc Jacket I mean. But at this point it's pretty much a done fight. He's just gonna try and keep distance cut away from me, but there's not really much he can do at this point. If he was on a different W, it would have been a lot harder fight, and I would consider breaking against Warbows, because it's a very, very tricky fight if they're a good Warbow. They just really use mobility to stay away from you. In this fight we're playing against another Deathgiver player on Mistwalker Jacket. You need to swap to your first Q and Chain Slash, I'd recommend. You just have to keep in mind his Mistwalker Jacket does kind of counter your Mercenary Jacket, so you kind of want to pop it at a time where you might be able to get a few ticks off of your Mercenary Jacket and at least get some healing off. I Chain Slash in here. You could have gone for an outplay on his Avalonian Cape, and as soon as he popped his Avalonian Cape Chain Slash, and he would have been able to negate some of the damage. But as you see there, I timed my Mercenary Jacket quite well, so I could get a couple ticks off, so I could get some HP. I do however misplay here. I end up getting hit by the lava, which almost cost me the fight, but he's on the wrong W, and it's a pretty easy kill with some nice silver.